Hi, this is Tatiana Kolovu. This is Stronger, my LinkedIn Learning newsletter, the February edition. I wanted to get some more people to hear about this or get to read it on YouTube. So, because YouTube is more of a visual platform, I'm going to read out my newsletter, probably ad lib it a little because I'm looking at it behind the screen. And I wanted to know what you thought about it. When I first started the LinkedIn newsletter, I did an audio version of it on LinkedIn, but share your thoughts with me. So here it goes. Setting goals is not only good for us. So, what might a gap toothed second grader have to teach you and me about goal setting? That's exactly what I thought when my daughter walked in my bedroom, handed me back a medal that I had so proudly brought home and handed to her. She gave it back to me, and I'll tell you a little bit more about this. So, for you to understand the story, you have to know a little bit about the context and the background of my life. I grew up, I was born and raised in Athens, Greece, and my father was a big time athlete. He swam, he played water polo, and later on in his career, he would play tennis in the mornings before work. It was one of those tennis locker rooms where he collapsed, and the doctors quickly diagnosed him with an inoperable type of cancer, brain cancer. And at the time, we didn't know it, but I think it was glioblastoma. As you can imagine, life changed fast. He passed away within the next 6 months. And I was at the age that my daughter was when she gave me back that medal. So our life, as I said, was turned upside down. We went from a suburb of Athens into the middle of the city in a small, crammed, two-bedroom, one-bathroom apartment. And my mom took his medals and his trophies and put them above the shelf in the kitchen. And I remember seeing them all the time and being reminded of his passion and his discipline that he had to live a healthy lifestyle and be a professional. So those medals were the courage that I got to take the bus, actually two buses. If you're familiar with Athens, I swam in the Elysia swimming pool. I went to the coach and I said, "What do I need to do to be on the team?" And he said, "Take this paper and have your mom sign it." I did just that. So, in a way, that was the beginning of my swimming career. It was a little later in my middle school life, but sports really connected me to my father and taught me so very much. For the ones of you that have done anything, maybe performance or music or sports, you learn a lot about discipline and about figuring out what you want to be doing too. Uh, so it teaches you a lot. So I learned about to go and get what I wanted and the discipline it took to achieve it. So fast forward several decades later, I live in the US. Everyone is a winner when you participate in athletics in this country, at least. So I brought back some of the medals that the kids, to the kids because they wouldn't fight. And that day, my daughter said this to me. I'll never forget that. She handed me back the medal and said, "Mommy, thank you for bringing this home, but I don't want it anymore. I want to go get my own now." And that's what I wrote this newsletter about. That's the day that I knew that my father's influence and dedication to goal setting didn't only benefit me, but it benefited others around me too. So I ask you, who do you share your goals with? Who can you influence and who can you motivate by setting audacious and slightly uncomfortable big goals that you share with them? I think you can influence quite a few people. So don't underestimate the power of goal setting, not just for you, but for others around you as well. Since January 1st has passed, and quite often our goals that we set in the beginning of the year either are abandoned or fizzle out, I wanted to help by giving sort of a progress report, a positive progress checklist that I design my week around three specific questions. So here they go. What do I want to be more? And the first answer that comes to mind um, could be different for all of us. For me, it may be to be more present or to be more focused. Or you might say, I want to be more empathetic or I want to be more action oriented. Whatever it is, wherever you set your intent, note that some of this goal setting behavior that we have, sorry, here, I want to make sure I see it right, is specifically connected to what James Clear discusses in his book Atomic Habits. I love this book. It's a New York Times bestseller. So he talks about habits and he talks about wanting to be the type of person we believe we are and designing that around our habits. So to be more of something else, we might want to start with who we are and setting our intentions to our identity right now, to that identity. So if I want to be more action oriented, I want to bring my intention to that specifically if I want it to happen. So I set goals to get there and systems that allow me to identify the process and then be able to achieve my outcomes. Let me give you an example here for personally. I often juggle a lot of things at once. So I teach in an academic setting at the Kelley School of Business. I have a lot of interactions with my work with LinkedIn and other corporate customers. And I also co-own a local small business that I have a very strong passion for. And quite often, I am juggling a lot of things at the same time. So one of my intentions is to be present. And when I'm working on something that is high on skill and needs high concentration, and it's a high challenge, kind of those flow activities, I know to put a do not disturb on my phone, to shut down the computer, to literally cocoon myself so I can be focused. And that may be also in times of the week where I schedule meetings, or times of the day where I schedule meetings, where I try not to be challenged by distractions if I want to be fully focused and present. And so my outcomes measurement comes back to those three questions that I'm mentioning. But in the week, I look at my week at the beginning every Sunday, and I kind of set and see which days or which chunks of the day I'll need that focus. I ask you to ask yourself, what are your weekly priorities and how do you accomplish them? Ask yourself, how do you make progress and how do you know your next priority? This is just a simple intention where you can start. Don't overwhelm yourself or don't over build something huge. Just take a small step of something you want to be more of and get started. The second question is, what do you want to do more? So that question is action oriented specifically. It ties specifically to habits that are mentioned in the Atomic Habits book. And think about, for example, toothbrushing and bedtime rituals. We all develop these habits that we stick to throughout our lives. So if you want to make a change, it's easier to put a new habit and tether it to an older established habit. And that's what James Clear calls synaptic pruning in his book. So the powerful network of neurons that are built when we maintain a certain behavior, when we field and we feed those habits. So instead of trying to break an old habit, try to tether those two together. And a great example of this, I try to be good about taking vitamins, and every morning I make a cup of coffee. So I at night put my vitamins next to the coffee so I'm reminded to be sure that I take them. That's a really important activity. If you're a disciplined calendar owner, this is another way to do it. You can put reminders on your calendar to get up and stretch if you're sitting a lot at your desk. Or if you know that every week you have a certain meeting that possibly you could take on your earphones or AirPods and you could walk. You may not be as focused, but if your intention is to do more movement and activity, that can get you there. So those are a couple of ways of teaming up some of the habits. You might also select to just choose something else and connect it. So keep this habit nurturing process simple and thoughtful, and ask yourself which behaviors would be the easiest ones to double up on. So what do you want to be more? What do you want to do more? And the last one, which for me, relationships are really important. Who do you want to see more? And I, again, intentionally set that out in the beginning of the week. And it's a challenging one because we all live busy lifestyles, and maybe, I'm not sure where you get your energy from. I do get it from the outside. I'm an extrovert, and I do get it from other people. But I have to be very, very intentional because I never want to have regrets and look back and say, I wish I would have seen this person more. So for some of us, it may not be. You may just need one person. For others, it's more. Regardless, let me give you an example of the see more. My mom is 88. She lives in Athens, Greece, and she always has said she wanted to be in her apartment as much as possible. So Obviously 7 hours ahead. There's a challenge with technology. She knows how to use Skype, or I would say the woman that lives with her and is her caretaker knows how to use Skype. But every morning when I start my day, I think, when today can I call? I have a short window because she takes naps, she's eating, they go on a walk, whatever they may do. So I make it a point of wanting to see her more. And thankfully, with technology, it's wonderful because we can get on a Skype session and we sing songs from my childhood, or we watch. She was born and raised in Mumbai, India. She loves Indian Idol, or we do chair yoga. There's some really nice programs. There's this sweet Rashmi, sweet young Indian woman that does chair yoga with both her grandmothers. So my mom loves that. So make a list of people you want to see more of, and you're the one that can make it happen, but you need to be intentional. I remind you, as James Clear says, start slow, start small if you have to, start small if you have to, start small if you have to, start slow if you have to, start privately if you have to, but just start with these habits and setting goals. That's so very important. Later on in May, when it's National Employee Health and Fitness Month, I've done this once before, it was crazy fun. I will teach an exercise, 35 minutes of a movement session. You can be on a bike, on a rower, you can run, you can walk, you can be on a treadmill, on an elliptical, maybe in your ears, but it will be a LinkedIn Live, and we will do a workout with that. Be more, do more, and see more. So that will be a lot of fun. Look for that. As I close, I want to send a special shout out to my dear friend Jay Blahnik. He's involved with a really big tech company that does really amazing work in helping people stay active. But he was the one that taught a cycling class many years ago at a convention with the do more and be more and see more. So I wanted to give him a shout out. I intentionally, every beginning of the year, teach at our fitness studio, Ethos Fitness, a cycling class where I ask people to contemplate these three questions. They write themselves a note, they close the envelope, they address it, and then we mail it to them a month later. So I just had someone this morning say, "Oh my gosh, I got my card and I'm right on the mark. I'm right on target," which is so rewarding to me, knowing that we do purposeful work. So those are the topics that I discussed this month in LinkedIn Stronger. Goals may be good for others around us as well. Don't forget that. If you want to grab it on LinkedIn and if you want to sign up for it, I also do an audio version. Follow me on LinkedIn, and I can't thank you enough for following along, and let me know what you think. Take care. Bye bye.